What do you think is the most challenging part? Because I know when we went to that event, a lot of people, not a lot, but a handful of people were also building communities.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's going to be hard to get people on an app to sign up for something.
Girl, it is so hard.
To even travel, the idea is great. People love the concept of a lot of things, but actually getting people to execute can be a little challenging.
Yeah.
But what do you think is the hardest part about building a community, especially if that's the foundation of the business?
Community business are really hard to build. There's no getting around that. It's one of the most challenging things to build. And I think social media has definitely had an impact on community. Some would say positively, others negatively, some people in the middle, like I'm somewhere in the middle, in terms of what it looks like to build a community today. And
do you think that's because people are so distracted with social media, they don't think about anything else, like being offline and actually in person, because we've been so consumed with social media?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of things. I think you're fighting for attention, right? And when you're a community, you're expected to provide value. And I think that's the difference. Like, I don't think social media is intended to provide value. It's just intended to provide information and access and visibility, right? And so value is something that you have to figure out from your community's perspective. Like, everyone, like, again, like, it's so loud, it's so noisy online, everyone's so different. And to really identify what your value proposition is for that set community is like the anchor, right? And then that's just the first step, though, because you can poll your community, you can ask them, and you can maybe know like what they deem valuable.
Yeah.
But how to actually create a space that provides that value is a very different thing. Like, it's a and, you know what I mean? It's always a and, you know? And so the challenge is, I think number one is like, how do I create an engaged community? Like, how do I create people to come back into the community and engage with the community against everything that they're engaging with now, right? On social media, their family, their friends, their lives, right? And so, I mean, for me, it's really starting niche. Like, I think like you would do yourself a disservice being broad and trying to create community for everybody, because it's just not going to work.
Yeah.
It's not going to work. But I think as niche as you can get to like who you're talking to, like start there. That's not to say that you're not going to serve a ton more people by way of like creating a community, or it might spin off into something different. But I think as you start, you really have to like have a person in mind, like, and be solving for something that is a real pain point for them. That's what I would say. And I've had like, it's been so hard. I'm still learning. Like, how do I create a valuable community for single moms? I'm still learning, like, every day. Like, what does that mean? And so another app. Like, we have launched an app, right? And I think what we're learning, or what we're trying to learn now, is just like, we've identified these kind of like dots on what they like, what they need. And outside of it just being a place, a safe space, right?
I was going to say that's a safe space, because you can have those conversations on social, but not really.
Right.
Not the way you wanted to. Because if you're trying to create it, kind of like how you had the WhatsApp group, when it was like everybody was just like, hey, this is what's happening. You can't really do that on social without feeling like you're going to be judged or shamed. You know, it's not really, because everybody got an opinion on everything.
And everyone has access to social media, you know? So I think limiting access was something I just felt like I needed to do to build a community. So like you said, one, for safety, two, for like, there's no judgment, because we are all a niche community around a certain thing. Right. And as much as I didn't, or I was conflicted about like creating the app at first, I think there's going to be real value in that, and being able to like, as a founder, own my data, own the conversations, take what, do what I need to do to safeguard the community. You really just can't do that fully on existing platforms. You can, but as a founder, it wouldn't be smart of me to be giving all of this data and creating all these tools on top of someone else's stuff. So we did, opt to me. By we, I mean me. And I do have
listen, ain't nothing wrong with, we all do that too. We'll be like, we. And my friend was like, you the only one that writes your newsletter. Why you keep saying we?
But I do work with people, you know what I mean? I have a tech guy, but like, yeah, we as in me.
That's fine.
I really thought that all around, from like a business standpoint, from a community standpoint, and from like a growth and scale standpoint, that we did have to have our own space on the internet, on the interwebs. So yeah, I think that has helped us. It is very, and I'll be honest, like we have very small community. Like we had a newsletter initially where we were kind of gathering the tribe and converting even people from the newsletter, which is just like information and stuff that we're doing, you know, like stuff very targeted to single moms. It's still slow to get people from that to the app. Yeah. Because it's something else they have to do. You know what I mean? And my community per se don't want to be doing a whole lot more than what they got on their plate. Okay. So yeah, I would say a community is a long game. It's not something that you are going to like overnight be a success over, at. And I think even in building community, I talk a lot about like being viral and all this kind of stuff. Like even your marketing tactics, like being viral helps for some people. Like, you want to spend all your money, time, and energy on other platforms trying to like get the word out about your community. I get that. But we talked about this, and you're a big fan of like, you got to have a list. Like, listen, own your contacts.
For those of you, So for those of you that are watching, y'all can go ahead and subscribe to the Kickback with Keri newsletter. We have that too. Okay.
Yes, please.
Yes, very much so. Because I always say social media is not a real place. Mm-hmm. And they're very unreliable. Yep. And I see even someone, she was like an online coach. She just posted on a TikTok like, oh, I just started taking my email list seriously. And I've gotten like 11,000 subscribers, generated this much money by sending an email. And I'm like, y'all, she was like, so if you haven't done it, and she was putting off creating an email list. And I'm like, that's a great way to start with community. Yeah. Like if you can't get them on an app, if you can't get engagement, even, I even try to do like in-person stuff. It doesn't always work. At least getting them to an email allows you to start communicating, ask questions, figuring out what people want, pivoting like how you did, because you originally had the newsletter too. Like you had travel, then COVID happened, and then you started the newsletter, and that's how you were able to ask questions and get people on WhatsApp, and then start getting ideas of what your community needed. So I'm like, anybody watching, yes, if you want to build community, start with an email.
No, it's true. And
it is so true.
We've seen social platforms cease to exist. So if you're building your business again, like on top of another platform, you're at risk. Right? If you don't own those contacts or have direct line to your customers, you're at risk, right?
And you see people all the time like, oh, all it takes is 5 people to hate you online to flag your stuff over and over again, and all of a sudden you're violating community guidelines, or whatever happened, you post this. Like it takes one thing for your account to disappear. Yeah. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, I had no way to reach people.
Yep. So you got to get a list. You got to get a list. Yes. So that really is step one. Yeah. I don't know what I said step one was before, but that's really step one. Yeah. And it doesn't matter. I think sometimes when you think of community, you think of it as like a big thing. Mm-hmm. Like it needs a lot of people, right? And I can't overstate how important it is that even if you're helping 5 people in your community, those 5 people's opinions will help you bring in the next 5 people. Like, you know what I mean? And so,
because you taught me that too when I started the newsletter. I was like, it's not a lot of people. You're like, you're good, right? Like you starting somewhere more than most people.
Exactly. And it's like I said, communities are not. If you really want to provide value and your community is something that you want to last, it's not quick. It's not a quick game. Like you ain't gonna flip it. It ain't gonna happen like that for you. You know what I mean?
That's true.
So you have to be invested in like, really providing that value. So I don't know. I think communities are like in the state of the world right now, extremely important. Extremely important. Like it's extremely important to find a space where you feel your fullest self, where you can be authentic, where you can like release, And so without communities in my life, friendship communities, family communities, like single mom communities, like I would have a really hard time managing my life. Yeah. Like just period. And so I think you're going to see the need for community surge in the future. Like
I agree.
Real and true community.
I think so, because we used to be that way before social media, before COVID. Like we used to be, I feel like at least that's how we grew up. We were very community centric. Right. Like, we were outside all day with your friends on the week. Even if it's just your friends on the weekends, your parents, I remember my parents would have friends come over, the kids downstairs. Like it was always community. But as we get older, people have different responsibilities, people move away, you're not all close to each other. Then we have social media. So I think we realized that when COVID happened, it was like, ooh, like that's the one thing we've been lacking for a very long time. So I definitely agree with the idea that more people are looking for that now on the other side, even though it's like, what, 5 years post that now, but still, like, but still, on the other side, I think people are like, okay, we're kind of tired of just social media and just this lack of connection. Yeah. We need it.
We definitely do. Like, so if you're thinking about building community, like, now is the time. I feel like, and it's going to be increasingly harder with AI and technology fighting for your piece, your side of the internet,